So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are today. Welcome, welcome. I am Denise Armenio. I am coming to you today from North Carolina. And so just happy to be here with everybody and looking forward to today's Thursday Live. For those of you that don't know me, I am a certified emotion code, body code, and group energy facilitator, as well as a Genius biofeedback practitioner. And I have Claire McIntyre here with me, who is going to be helping me monitor the chats so that we can get all your questions answered. I will be training you on how to use the Genius, as well as working with a volunteer today. And I'm going to have her come on in just 1 minute. And Dee, if you want to, Deanne, do you go by Dee or Deanne?
Deanne.
Oh,
Sorry,
Deanne.
Can you hear me? It's
I can hear
Deanne.
you.
Okay.
Very nice to meet you.
I think I'm going to move this out of the window because there's glare behind me. Okay.
Yeah. So hello, I'm just going to start screen sharing here. So hopefully everybody can see that now. Let me just whoopsies. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, this is what the how it looks when you start or after you log into your Genius Insight. It will give you an area to put your name, your date of birth, and your gender. If you have already worked with someone, you do not have to fill this information in here. You can simply click on access your client records and you can search for the client's name. That way you don't have multiple records of one person. So Deanne, I'm just gonna start Brazil, correct?
Yes.
And your date of birth?
9/4/57. Yeah, September 4th.
Sorry, sometimes. 57. Okay, great. So your name and your birth date work sort of like an IP address. So that is how the frequencies get to you remotely through the quantum field. And you also hear the frequencies. So the next thing you will do is you just want to go to the bottom and hit continue with next and with new analysis. And this next page, user records, is just for you know, the user, just to take notes on the client, or if it's yourself, on maybe how you were feeling that day, or what you wanted, what your symptoms were, what you wanted to work on. But none of this information is included in the scan at all. This is just for your notes. But while we're here, Deanne, what are some of the issues that you may have that you may want to work with today? Do you have any physical pain or any emotional pain?
The poor circulation, I think cardiovascular, painful joints.
Hold on, cardiovascular, painful joint. It doesn't have to be on here. If you have, where specifically, where do you have some pain?
Especially my legs, my knee joints. I'm bone on bone in my knees. And I'm prone to getting fibromyalgia. So it's like, you know, it depends on the day. Sometimes I hurt all over and sometimes not so much. So.
Okay, so let's start with your legs and knees. Is the pain in your legs and your knees today?
Yes. Right at the moment, no, but when I'm up and walking, yes.
You mean you're not feeling it because you're sitting, but if you were to get
up. Correct. No, I feel it every day.
Okay, so this is just to see if there's a measurable change. So this scale is only for you, but if you were to rate the pain in your knees on how it's feeling today on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being severe, how would you rate it?
If I'm not walking, it's like a 3 or 4. But if I generally walk the dog, do walks and stuff with my dog, and then it's more like, it can be a 10, but generally 7, 8.
I'm
So
just going to put it like a 7.5 out of 10.
yeah,
Just
it just depends on how much I'm up and about.
okay. I'm just going to put the one is walking and the other one is kind of like sitting. And then, and do you have the fibromyalgia anywhere active today?
Yeah, I mean, I always have it all over. I don't really notice it so much because
Because it's a normal
it's
thing.
there all the time. Yeah,
So if you were just to tune in, how would you rate it today?
maybe maybe a 3, 2 or
Okay.
3, 2.5.
There's no wrong answer
Yeah,
here. No, it's just so you could, you're bringing your attention to it. So that way, when we're done, you can see if it's helped you or not, because that's really the best way to know if the genius is working, right? Is if you can see a measurable change. I mean, it works when you don't see a measurable change, but then it would be hard for you to gauge if it is working.
right.
Is there anything else you would like to include today to work? Anything emotional?
Um, mm, um, I mean, I can be prone to depression,
Okay.
but I won't say I'm right there. I'm not there right now, but
Okay, only that
just
there's
grief,
something
being in a state of grief because I've lost my son, not not that long ago. So I still kind of go in and out of that during the day because I think about him all the time. So, but it's not in the forefront of my mind 24/7, but I think of him a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so we can work around that. I don't know if there's a number that that you want to put on that. Is it,
Um, so if I'm
don't have
thinking about
to.
it or not.
You don't have to
I
if you don't want
yeah,
to.
I don't know. I mean,
We'll
it's
just leave it. We'll just work with these. If something comes up,
okay.
you can let me know. Okay. So I'm just
Mhm.
going to move on from here. Basically we'll focus on your legs and knee joints, but we'll work for everything.
Okay.
Fibromyalgia is typically, from an energetic standpoint, has to do with a lot of emotion. So we'll work with, clearing some emotions and potential trauma that
Okay.
might be there. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit begin. And then the next thing that we do is we take your voice, record your voice, and the genius
Mhm.
will analyze your voice. So I will just count you down. I'll say 3, 2, 1, begin. And then please say your full name and repeat the vowels A, E, I, O, U until this 15-second counter gets to 0. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1,
My
begin.
my name is Deanne Brazil. AEIOU. AEIOU. I'm excited for today's session and look forward to it.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so now the next thing you'll do is you'll hit voice harmonics. And that will actually demonstrate how the genius has just translated your spoken word into a frequency. And that frequency actually works as a homeopathic. So it's always recommended to play this back. So here we go. Okay. And so the next thing that we do here is we hit the next. And that will bring us to the screen where we take your selfie, and I can do that just from the Zoom. So I'm just going to capture your image here. And hopefully it's loaded in there. And here you are. And now we can hit begin analysis again, and the Genius will analyze. Okay, so now it asks for an energetic affirmation. I tend to always use the same one, but you can use whatever affirmation that you like. Sometimes people work on a different affirmation every day, or they have one for a week or a month. Unless you have something that you want me to add in here, I can add in the one that I use.
Okay, that sounds good.
So it's all energies are transmuted into the frequency of pure love. Whoops. Whoops. And then I just add, and so it is. Okay, so what happens here is just like the Genius translated your spoken word into a frequency, it does the same thing when we type in any written text or anything like that. So the frequency of this affirmation will get overlaid every time we run frequencies. And now we could just hit begin analysis. I just wanted to mention that anybody who is on trial or just has the basic version of the Genius, you will just see body, biofield as mind as the categories. Custom libraries banner here will only show up if you've created libraries or purchased libraries. So if you're not seeing that, don't think you don't have the same version of the Genius. You do. Okay, so now I just wanted to explain how the Genius works a little bit. It uses a numerical value system from 0 to 777. The lowest range goes from 0 to 200, and that is represented by the color blue. And items in this range are observed to be chronic energetic disturbances. It could also be referred to as stagnant energy or sometimes even under energy. The next range from there goes from 201 to 450, and that is represented by the color green. And then it's 451 to 599 is represented by the color yellow. And then lastly, 600 to 777 is represented by the color red. And items in this range are acute energetic disturbances that can also be referred to as heat or inflammation or even over energy. So that gives you a little understanding of what you're looking at when you see all these colors. Now, people will often ask, where do you want it to be? What is the normal range? The normal range is kind of anything in between the 200 and 600. However, I do like to keep it a little tighter. So my range is more like between 400 and 600. So that's a little bit tighter. So it would, my range is really more the yellow range than the green range, but anything between the two would be considered in that normal range. The other thing I just want to point out is these chevrons or down arrows are just telling you that if you click on the line that there's more information, or you could click on the arrow. So if I click on the arrow, you can see all the different sacred geometry. It gives you the value as well as you can see this little magnifying glass, which is there to tell you that there's more if you need a little bit more information. So the sacred geometry circle, you click on it, that has to do with unity and all of creation and the womb. So it just gives you a little bit of an understanding what that sacred geometry has to do with. I can close that by clicking on the arrow again. And if I were to click on the line, it gives me all the same information, except now it's like color coded to the range. So it pops out. It's a little bit easier to read. You can get that same information on the side by hitting the little magnifying glass, just like we did there before. And then also the other nice little thing to notice is there are 3 different ways you can run frequencies. If you can drag some of these lines down to the main hold tray or up to the quick zap tray. You can do that by pressing on the line and just kind of going up, and it would put that item up top, or you could drag it down and it puts it in the main hold tray. You can also press, if you press on this plus button or crosshair by either one of the trays, it gives you the opportunity to add all the reds or all the yellows, greens, blue, etc. So it's a little faster. And then finally, a quick balance. The Genius will do all the work for you and just run all the reds and the blues that are on that page. So there are 3 ways to work with it. I tend to work mostly with the main hold tray. And the reason for that is that the Genius adds some algorithms when working with the main tray. And we'll see that in a few minutes, where it uses these algorithms to look at the relationship of all the items in the main hold tray. So, and the importance of that is sometimes these items that appear to be yellow or green now, when it's analyzed on, let's say, how those items interact together, sometimes those red or green items could become reds or blues. So sometimes you may want to expand the range on what you're working on so that you don't miss anything. The first thing I like to work on when I'm starting my session is I will go to my custom libraries, and I'm going to show you that library in a second. But if you don't have that library, what I add to the main hold tray to begin with are vitamins, amino acids, and minerals, as well as I will add everything from the bio field into the main hold tray. I have a library that I'm going to go to right now that includes all that plus a little bit more. And why I work with that is because it primes your body so that when we work with some of the other frequencies, your body is in the best state. It's like making sure you have a good foundation. So I'm just going to run the analysis here. I have a bunch of libraries, close to 2,000, so it takes a few minutes here. Okay, so I can just hit in this little black chevron that's in the center of the screen. It brings down a search function, which is really nice because it allows you to search many different ways for the different libraries. I am going to write in bioterrain. And once I do that, you can see all the panels that are included in the bioterrain library bundle. But the one in particular that I always start with is the vessel priming frequencies. And it also says begin here so that you know to begin with that. So I'm just going to drag this whole line down. And you can see at the bottom that it's added all 162 items. So it makes it very easy and quick to add all of them. And again, if you're wondering why I'm adding all the items and not just the red and blue, is because all these items are so important and vital to having that strong foundation. And because I don't know what the relationship is going to be once I run the analysis, I want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you need. Okay, so now I will go to the little timer up top. You can slide this little yellow circle, and I'm just going to slide it to 1 minute. And then I can select all, and you can see that all of these items have been selected here. And I can just select play. Sorry. So you did a great job. You can see that the Genius is saying excellent, and it is telling you excellent because your average percent rectification down on the bottom is above 40%. And in fact, it's 57%. So that is great. The second thing I look for when I'm looking at the average percent rectification are the 3 values above that for harmony, alignment, and energy flow. I don't like to see the range of these numbers go beyond 20%. And the reason for that is I don't feel that it's as stable, meaning it could easily be thrown out of balance again. But you are within that 20%. So that is really great. And the next thing I will do after I get that is I can rescan, and then I'm just going to run the highs and the lows. So I'm just going to select the lows and the highs. Now you will see on the right-hand side, it says high, medium, and lows. The way I work with the progressive insights is that the highs are like the items that are stressed, and the lows represent more like the blues. However, there are some people also work with the highs, medium, lows here, as the highs are high priority, medium priority, and the lows low priority. Now that may sound a little off to you and confusing, but it's really important when you're working with the Genius and with the quantum field just to hold a strong intention, and whatever your intention is basically how that will work best for you, and the beauty of the quantum field, working with the quantum field. So I'm just going to now move the timer down to 0 minutes. That enables me to work in increments, not set minutes, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it gives me the flexibility to run it for short spurts, which is what we're going to do right now. Okay, so you see it's a 36% rectification, and up top, that is very tight. Now we're doing a demo, so I'm not going to run these again to get it to 40% or higher, but that 36% is still very good. And again, 33 to 41% is a very tight percentage. So I'm happy with that. So now we can just back arrow. You can see the back arrow at the top left. And we can just go until we get to the system overview page. And then I'm just going to hit the arrow that's just to the left of the main whole tray. And that opens up the tray so you can see what's in the tray. It gives you the ability to if you were to X on any of these, if you wanted to remove one or two, you could from here, or you can just clear all of them. And that is what I'm about to do so that we can go to our step 2. So the next thing I will do is if you click on system overview, that will bring us to a screen called general overview. And what happens here is that the Genius will take all the line items from the system overview. And what I mean by line items is all the items that you see here under each category is considered a line item. And instead of ordering them in by category, it takes all the line items from this whole main system overview page, and it will put them in chronological order. If you have libraries, it will also add all the libraries and add those into the chronological order. And for me, this is, and someone who's worked with energy for a long time, this is a very important step because anything can cause anything. So while we might be working on your legs or your knees, there may be items that are out of balance that are causing, that are like the underlying cause to why your knees or your legs may have pain. So I'm just going to click on that to show you. And because I have so many libraries, there are probably close to 100,000 line items. So I'm not going to scroll through all of these items. There will be a lot of reds as we're looking at them, and blues, and even yellows and greens, because we have a set amount of slots, 777 slots with all those line items. So don't be concerned when you see a lot of reds or a lot of blues. So because I can't add all the reds or even just all the blues and work with them, because there would be, you know, so many in your tray, and I don't want to send too many frequencies to your body at once. We have the ability, if we hit this plus button or the crosshairs down at the bottom, to add the top 50 and the bottom 50. So that allows us to add that information in. You could see at the top here, sensitivities to shellfish. Now it's red, so it doesn't mean, that's not saying you have a sensitivity. It could mean that you've just had shellfish within the, you know, today, and maybe it's out of balance, or somehow you picked up that frequency is in your field and it's out of balance. But again, if it's red, it's acute and it's happening in the now and in the present. So just don't get alarmed that this is telling you that you have some kind of food allergy or anything. I can click to up top, it says 0 to 100. If I click that again, it shows me all the, starting at the bottom with the blues. So these would be the items that you have been out of balance for a longer period of time. So here's lymphatic. So there's an affirmation in here. You're shaking your head. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, I have lymphedema in my legs. Actually, I didn't think to say that earlier, but so yeah, I have lymphatic issues in my legs.
So this, you know, right here is great. It's validating, you know, to you, right, that that's showing up. The next thing showing up is something with your solar plexus. And then we have something with stem cell activation. And these are just random items that are coming in from individual items. So you get the idea. Sometimes they won't make any sense to you on why they're coming up, and that's okay. all we need to know. And I trust the genius that if it's coming up, there's a reason, and we just need to work and harmonize that frequency of it. And you can have the peace of mind also to know that we can't make a mistake when we send frequencies, because your body is intelligent design and it's only going to accept frequencies that it needs. It's not going to accept frequencies that it doesn't need. So after I've added those items, if I click and remove where it says remove libraries up at the top, now it just leaves me with the items from the system overview page in chronological order. So for anyone new that only has these, you can work with it a little bit differently. You don't have to work with it exactly how I'm working with it. I'm working with it because I've already added 100 frequencies into the main hold tray. So I'm going to follow that same pattern, and I'm going to add the top 50 and the bottom 50. But if these were the only items you were working with, maybe you want to add all the blue or add all the red. Or if that's too many blues and too many reds together all combined, then maybe just start with adding the blues, since those would be the more chronic items that you're working with. So there's no set way you can work with. The beauty of the Genius is that you can really work with it however it works best for you. So now let's just go, we can hit this play button for the main hold tray on the bottom right, and it brings us back to this progressive insight chart. And I'm just going to hit begin analysis. Okay, and again, I'm going to follow the same thing that I did the last time. I put the timer on 1 minute and select all. And I always like to start with 1 minute, because more isn't always better. You don't always want to give your body the frequencies for too long. Sometimes shorter bursts are more effective than having the frequencies run for a long period of time. Where I find running frequencies for a longer period of time is if it's like a fresh injury. Sometimes I've run frequencies overnight or for a longer period of time. Although do keep in mind, sometimes running frequencies overnight, it can keep your mind active and it may impede your sleep a little bit for that night. So you may want to run them longer during the day and not overnight. And the other time I will run it longer is if I'm working like specifically in the gut and working with parasites. Parasites have a 17-minute kill time, so you would want to run in increments of 17 minutes. Otherwise, I like to keep the work with shorter bursts of time. And if it's someone that douses or muscle tests, you can certainly do that to get the amount of time that you use there. So I'm just going to run play right now for you. Did great work here. Thank you. It's an average percent rectification of 67%. That is amazing. And again, the range is only within 10%. So that's also awesome. So again, just like before, since that average percent rectification is high, I like to rescan. That way we can work with the new set of highs and lows. And so I'm going to select the lows and the highs. And I'm just going to move that down to 0 so we can just run it for 30 seconds. And so here you have a 36% rectification. Again, good job. Of course, you know, if we had more time here, I would run it again to see if we could get that just up above 40. But like I said last time, your harmony, alignment, and energy flow is tight. It's going from 33 to 41%. So that's great. So I'm just going to back out of here. And again, I'm going to go down and hit the arrow next to the main hold tray so I can clear this out. And now it gives us time that we can work on where some of your issues are. The first thing that I always want to do though, since we've already worked with a good amount of these, I don't feel like I need to go back and look at anything. Although the only thing I did forget to do today, and my apologies, is to get an aura picture of you before we started. So I'll just capture it right now. I'm sorry. But you can get that by just clicking on the aura, and we can hit begin and end. Okay, if you look up top, it says hide avatar. I always like to hit that because this way you could see exactly what's in there. This is actually a really beautiful aura. You can see all the different levels, and this is going out dimensionally. What's in the center is always close to your body. And we're always looking for bright, vibrant colors. I like to think of like neon sort of colors as the brightness you'd like to see in the colors. Anything that's like muddy or fuzzy or dirty, which you kind of start seeing as you get out a little bit further, is an indication of stagnant energy or some types of vibrational energy, interference. I would always work with your spiritual protection libraries. We did work with that a little bit in the beginning in that vessel priming when we worked with everything in the biofield, but sometimes you may need to spend a little extra attention on it. But it's very normal to see a lot of this, you know, like blurriness a little bit. You could also switch to the old version of the aura, which gives us different information. The one thing, especially for beginners, that I like to have them focus on is, well, here we're also looking for the bright, vibrant colors. So hopefully we can bring some more of those colors in. What is nice to see is that the 4 corners are filled. That suggests that you're grounded and you're in your body. So that is always a good sign. So I'm not going to spend much time on here. You can go on for a long time in getting into this, and it would go well over the demo, but basically just knowing, you know, that you're grounded or not grounded is always an important thing to look at. The next thing I usually always like to add is digestion, just because that's just so important, our hormones and everything. And for you, it's showing up as blue as being a little bit chronically out. So I would definitely want to add that. Again, just I'm showing you some of the shortcuts, some ways that as you start working with it, you could save time. You can just drag this line right to the bottom, and it has added all 11 items. Again, because we don't know how all the items are going to react when the Genius uses its algorithms as how they relate to each other, is why I've added all of them, and I'm not concerned with the reds and the blues here, because it's so important. I want to make sure every single, you know, area of digestion is balanced and harmonized. But if we were to click on the line, you could see the areas that are, your small intestine, flora, and stomach are out of balance right now, but your large intestine and your mouth seem to be on more of a chronic issue. So again, but I've added all of those in there. And the next thing, we can look at spiritual protection and just see what's going on. You have one red, and then you have your, some dark energy, surround and protect your jewelry. So that's not so bad. Again, we did work on it. I'm not going to put any of these into the tray right now. I just sometimes like to get a sense of what's in there and what we might be potentially looking at if we need to spend more time there. But I do want to get into, like I said, fibromyalgia has in many cases is very emotionally charged. So I do want to look at your emotions. And again, because it's emotionally charged, there's no right or wrong here. You could work with the reds or the blues. I'm going to add all of them just because we don't know when they're all in the same room together, how they're going to get along, and with some of the other items. And now a lot of times you may want to work with, when you work with the emotions, with the Bach flower essences, and to work with them. And I will go back to this later, but I do want to add, and go to the library so that we can work with some of the pain that you're dealing with. And I have a pain library here. And so here I'm going to add the reds and the blues. And then I will go to library, the human body structure. And so I want to go look at the items that are specifically more leg and knees. So let me go to where some of the blues are first, because this, well, you did say joints, so I'm going to add all of these and all of them, except for the one. And let's just see. I like to start looking at the ones that have been more chronic on your area, because we're already up to 164, but we have the leg and foot muscles here. So let's work with those. And again, I do want to add all of these. And here's the leg and foot. Are there ligaments for the lower leg, and the knee joint aren't in there? Let's get your knees. And I'm going to get your nerves too. Where's nerves? Oh, well, veins. I'm just going to do the reds and the blues on the veins. But, oh, here's the nerve database. Okay, and I'm just going to add the reds and the blues on the nerves. We're going to go over, but I just want to make sure. So now, again, 1 minute, and I'm going to hit begin analysis. I created the human body structure, Karen, and thank you. That's a good recommendation to add essential oils like joy for grief. Thank you. I will go back and add that in a minute. So I'm just going to hit highs here. good job. You did really well again here. 68%. And you're just slightly over the 20%, so I'm not really going to be concerned with it. It is on the higher side. I will hit rescan. And then you probably are kind of seeing my process, the lows and the highs. You know what though? Because there are a lot of items in the tray, I'm just going to work with the lows first. And I'm going to work with those for 30 seconds. So great. You have 50% and that's within the 20%. So again, I'm happy with that. So now I can deselect by hitting the lows and it deselects them. And now let's just go to the highs. Just making sure that they selected. And again, I'm going to run the highs for 30 seconds. So now that is a little bit on the low side at 21%, although the harmony, alignment, and energy flow is with, what is that, like 7%, about that? So that's not bad. It's still 20%, but let's just run it for another 5 seconds and see if we can just boost that up. And it went up to 27%, but look at the harmony, alignment, and energy flow is like almost perfect. So like, I'm happy with that because, you know, if let's say that was at 40%, but the range was 20%, this is kind of a little bit more stable in my opinion. So I'm happy with that. If you could just kind of be a little bit mindful and maybe check in, how are you feeling? Have you noticed or have there been any shifts? It's okay if there aren't any. I can't hear you.
No, from sitting, if I sit too long, then they hurt worse than I've been sitting a lot of times. So, and
Okay,
not
that's
getting,
okay. I mean, sometimes, you know, things don't happen so quickly. We could, let's just go back now and I'm gonna add the emotions, just the reds and the blues up top. And I'm also gonna add some Bach flower essences, again, just the reds and the blues. And I'm gonna go to the essential oils and take Karen's recommendation to add some joy. Or you know what? Let's add the reds and the blues here. Let's just see if joy is showing up. I can type it in. Oh, did you mean joy as the emotion?
she meant the oil. Joy is
Oh, it's a blend, so it's not.
it's a blend.
Okay. I can look at that in the custom library section because I'm just going to add in the neurotransmitters up there, but let's go back to, if we hit all, let's just see if this will find it for me quickly, joy. And there it is. Oh no, that's something different. Well, you know what? It showed up. I don't believe in mistakes. So I will just go more specifically to um, I'm not finding those blends. So, I just want to go to, the Alaskan. I was going to do grounding. Maybe we could do a little bit of both. Add in the reds and the blues. And just go for grounding, and we'll add the reds and the blues. And let's run this for a minute for you. So you have a 30% rectification here. It goes from 17 to 44%. So there, the range is starting to get a little bigger. Let's just see, as we're running close to the top of the hour. Let's just see how your aura looks. Did you notice any shift with that at all? Or because sometimes a lot of those solutions.
Not really. And I'm
Okay.
pretty sensitive to energy because I do energy medicine, so I don't really feel
No,
anything.
nothing yet. Let's see what your. Okay, so then when we return this, we see, this green, I'd like to see the green a little brighter in here. So we can work on that, and then this brown again in the paleness. So there are some stuff, probably stagnant energy and some different energies that still need to move out. You are a little bit getting ungrounded in here. So I would want to run some of the Alaskan. I'm gonna clear out, actually, is this main tray and go back to the custom libraries. I just want to look at some of the trauma libraries here for you for a minute. I'm just going to drag this one in. And we're running out of time, which is why I'm just trying to add, oh, this one doesn't want to go for me. So let's just add the reds and the blues. And I'm just going to add in some more grounding frequencies again here for you, since and we'll just run. I think the frequency, shape, and form is, I have it high at a times 50 and alternating frequencies here. So anyway, I just want to get back here so that we can run these for a minute for you. So 63%. And again, 56 to 69 is within that range. We can just go back and see how the aura looks. Now this bright green in the center, I'm really liking how that looks. That's a nice healthy green. It is a little blurry out here, but we'll take it. And it's better. We're seeing some green in here, but you're still not all the way grounded in there. So we did work with a lot of frequencies today with you. So maybe just do some grounding a little bit at home while you're there. Hopefully, maybe you need a good night's sleep and let all the frequencies settle in. Please drink lots of water. I would love for you to email me if you notice a change. Sometimes people see results right away and sometimes not always. But how long have you had your Genius for?
Since July, but I haven't used it. And I go through, because we travel a lot, so I'm not always 100% using it every day or anything. Sometimes I
Well,
go.
you must have your phone with you. Travel and use it when you're away.
Yeah, it depends on how many people. So we do a lot of things with our grandkids, so it's not always,
So,
you
well,
know,
well,
yeah.
hopefully,
I will
you
say
know,
that I feel like I've I feel overdone, as far as
okay.
frequencies. This is how I feel like if I've worked too long on somebody or someone has worked too long on me, this is typically how I feel. So I think that's why
So
the
maybe you
or
just need to settle in a little bit
yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
when you
it
get
dissipates.
grounded a little bit.
Mhm,
So yeah,
mhm.
please email me at Denise at Inside Health Apps. I'd love to hear how you're feeling once it settles in and you
Mhm.
straight maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, but I hope you found this helpful and that you've learned something. And for everyone else, thank you all for joining me. I always enjoy seeing everybody here. And until next week. If anybody, I think, who do we, Vincent, right? Are you here next week? I would love to have you as a volunteer if you're around next week. Otherwise, if anyone else would like to volunteer, you can always email me again at Denise at Inside Health Apps. And anything anyone would like to see a little bit more explanation on, you can always email me too, and I will be sure to include that when I do these Thursday lives. So anyway, thank you everyone. Thank you, Claire, for helping out in the chat. I hope we've answered all your questions and we will see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Deanne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great